Hello everyone, this is Marco and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing another toy review, this time for the Spinosaurus Danger Set, which I've been really excited about. I got this sent from America from a good friend of mine, Martin, because at the time it wasn't available here in England. But it's suddenly shown up at Argos. I am a huge fan of dinosaur and human packs together with some accessories, so this really scratches the itch for me. And I'd much rather have this type of Spinosaurus over the really sort of expensive one. I'm a big fan of basic articulation, and this one is perfect for me. So let's start and let's have a look at the box. The box has a massive window on the front so we can see all the figures inside. We have the Jurassic World Rebirth logo on the bottom left, the name of the set in the bottom center. We have the generic Jurassic World Rebirth packaging sort of design with the landscape as a background and some red and black accents here and there. The sides have the Jurassic World Rebirth logo, and on the back we have some big pictures of what's included in the set. On the bottom we have some safety information, and here's your barcode. So let's open up the box. We remove the insert, and as we do so we can have a good look at the figures like that. As you can see, the tail of the Spinosaurus is separate and it's underneath right here. Once we remove all the straps, we can take the figures out of the box, and then we have to click in the tail of the Spinosaurus. And this is everything that is included in the box. We have a lovely Spinosaurus figure, 2 human figures, a crate, and a few weapons. A kind of rifle looking thing that can be assembled and disassembled, a flare gun, and what Mattel calls a utility tool, which is just a knife. Let's start by having a look at the human figures. With Dr. Henry Lumis. This is different from the other Henry Lumis figures that are available in the line. He's wearing some different clothes, and this one's quite basic. He's just wearing a blue shirt, some beige looking trousers, he's got a brown belt and some brown boots, and he's wearing a watch. The head sculpt is decent, it portrays the actor decently, I think. And the sculpt in general is pretty good. There is some very light texture on the shirt, which is really nice. Very fine texture, I should say. And if you ever want to swap some heads around, I think this would be a very good base for a generic human figure. Now looking at the paint, again this is quite basic. There aren't any nice details on the boots, paint-wise they're just all brown. My one right here does have a little bit of a paint mishap, unfortunately. That brown from the boots has sort of spilled over a little bit onto the trousers. The pants are just one solid color. The belt is painted, which is nice. The buckle isn't. The watch is just one solid color. The shirt is all one color too. But I must say that his beard does look a little odd. It looks like he just finished eating some chocolate ice cream and he's just rubbed it all over his face. It could be chocolate or something else a bit less nice, I guess. He does have some sculpted on glasses instead of them being separate like on the Ian Malcolm figure when he was wearing sunglasses. I guess because these are not sunglasses, they're just generic. They decided to just sculpt them onto the face, which is understandable. But they're painted quite well, there's no sloppiness around the eyes at all. In terms of articulation, it's got the basics. The head can move around and up and down. The up and down motion is very subtle. The arms can swivel around, open to the side, and the elbows can move too. The waist can move. The legs have the same articulation as every other Mattel figure in the main line, and he can do the splits too. I think this Henry Lumis figure is alright, it's decent enough, but there is a much better one, and that's in the story pack with a Pteranodon. So with Henry Lumis out of the way, we can have a look at Zora Bennett. This version of Zora is quite different from the story pack version. I have received a story pack and I will do a review on it soon, but we'll take a look at this one first. This Zora has a blue t-shirt, some black trousers, some beige boots, she's wearing a watch, she's wearing a cap, which is different from the other figure, and she's got an accessory over her chest, which is removable. I think her face resembles the actress's physiognomy quite accurately, although I must say that the story pack Zora has better eye application. She looks a lot more natural. This one here looks like she's wearing heavy makeup. In terms of sculpt, the shirt is quite smooth, it doesn't have any texture, which is very different from the Henry Lumis one. It's got some wrinkles on the sides. The belt is sculpted out quite decently. The pants have some pockets, which is very different from real life women trousers. But I'm guessing these are more military tactical trousers. And the boots are nicely detailed too, very nicely sculpted. In terms of colors, it's quite basic. Again, the t-shirt is just a solid blue, the pants are all black, the belt isn't painted on this figure, and the boots are beige. She does have a watch, it's all black. All the paint applications are quite crisp, especially on the face, but there's not really much else to say. It's got all the basic articulation that we can expect from the mainline Mattel human figures. So I think now we can move on to the accessories. Let's take a look at that crate first. It's quite basic looking, but also quite interesting at the same time. It's mainly smooth in texture, but it does have a little bit of texture on the top, and it's got some sculpted detail like some fake clasps and clamps on the side. It doesn't really have any paintwork on it, which is a little bit basic. Now what's interesting about this accessory is that it's actually functional. You can open and close it, it can snap closed, and it actually acts as storage for your utensils and weapons that you get in this set. I really like that Mattel is adding functionality to certain accessories, like with this crate, but also with the backpacks. We're going to be having a close look at those when we review the story packs. It just makes me wish that stuff like this was available when I was a child. This would have been incredible for gameplay and for coming up with your own stories, your own Jurassic adventure. Dinosaur figures with human figures and interactive accessories are just very, very, very cool. This sort of stuff is very special. It's just that I lived in the middle of nowhere in Italy and this stuff wasn't available. I'm not even sure if it was available in the Jurassic line at all around that time, but I'm so glad that we have it now. Enough babbling, let's carry on and let's have a look at the weapons. Let's start with this utility tool. It is very rubbery, a lot more rubbery than I thought it would be. I guess it's so no one can get hurt, but it's so small, it doesn't even matter if it was a solid piece of plastic. It's pigmented in this dark grey colour, and it doesn't have any paintwork on it at all. I mean, it's tiny, it would probably be very fiddly, almost impossible to put any paint on this thing. So let's carry on and let's move on to the little flare gun. It's really, really, really small. It's quite rubbery. It's got some interesting sculpted detail on it. It's not extremely detailed, but for something this small, it is really good. There is no paint on it, and it's definitely much smaller than the one that came with Alan Grant in the Hammond Collection line for Jurassic Park 3. I'm not surprised it doesn't have any paintwork on it, but it is pigmented in this sort of orange plastic. I would be shocked if they added paint on something this small. And because it's so small, I can guarantee you that this accessory would get lost really quickly. But the fact that we have a little crate in the set, it means that it'll be a little bit harder to lose. You just have to make sure to put it back inside the crate once you're done with it. Next, let's take a look at that rifle. It comes in two parts and they can be snapped together. It comes apart so it can be easily stored inside the crate. I think it might be a gimmick that sort of references what we'll see in the film. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess, to when the film comes out. But it's a nice little detail. Having a look at the sculpt, it is very, very detailed. And it also has a little bit of paint on it too. It's pigmented in this dark grey colour, and it has a little bit of yellow paint on it. Overall, I think it looks really good, and I think it's a great little piece. All these accessories are designed to fit into the hands of the human figures. I think now we can move on to the star of the show. Let's have a look at that Spinosaurus. I was extremely excited to get this, and I'm really happy that I have. As I have stated before in other videos, I'm not a huge fan of electronics in my dinosaur toys, so this is the Spinosaurus figure for me, as it's only got basic articulation and none of the really fancy stuff. First impressions, it looks pretty cool. It has some weird things going on, but they're not really that distracting. It looks a little cartoony, but the proportions look pretty good still. It's got smaller feet and the tail looks long enough. Another thing that jumped out at me was the neck piece looks like it's a different color. That's a little bit obvious in my eyes because I guess I got a keen eye for noticing things like this. But overall, it doesn't spoil the figure at all. I think it looks wonderful. Talking about the sculpt and starting from the head, I am pretty sure that they used the digital model used in the film for the head itself. Because if we compare the sculpt from the body to the head, there's a certain dip in quality in general, in style I should say. But this head sculpt is just perfect. I am so impressed with this. It looks beautiful. It's got all the right detail in all the right places. And might I add that these teeth are even better than the ones on the Hammond Collection Spinosaurus. These are wonderful. It makes me wonder why Mattel didn't use the CGI model of the Giganotosaurus for the Hammond Collection line, but ended up using the CGI model for the Spinosaurus in Rebirth for the head only. In the film there are about 4 Spinosaurs, I think. I'm pretty sure they all have some very slight differences between each other. This one's quite unique and it doesn't have the head crest that is present on another Spinosaurus in the film. This instead has 2 sort of ridges on the eyebrows. Also, I think one of the Spinosaurs in the film has a slightly longer neck, and this one seems to be the one with a shorter neck too. The inside of the mouth is all sculpted really nicely, some nice detail on the tongue. But looking at the detail on the rest of the neck and then on the body, you can definitely tell there's a change in style, but it all looks really good anyway. Moving down to the arms, they're sculpted really nicely. There's some nicely defined musculature, and it all looks quite natural. But I remember seeing on the trailer and on some renders that the Spinosaurus in the film has some sort of more crocodilian scoots on the back of its arms. And it would have been nice to see it on this figure too. But them not being present here might have a very reasonable explanation. Maybe it's just part of the individual variation from each Spinosaurus. Maybe this one doesn't have those scoots on the arms. The fingers look quite nice. There's some webbing present. I'm not sure if that's on the film one too, or if it's just a design choice for the toy. But I did notice that the Spinosaurus in the film does have a bigger first claw on this hand, when all the claws on this toy look exactly the same in size. This is a generic mainline toy, so I'm not too fussed about this, but I think Mattel's pretty good at capturing certain details like these usually on their figures. But again, it could be due to various factors. Maybe the design of the Spinosaurus wasn't finalized before Mattel got the reference pictures, or maybe this is just individual variation again. The body doesn't really have that much detail. You can't see any of the ribs, and it has very minimal creasing in the skin, but it does have a pebbly texture all over. The sail has got a very interesting shape. It's got a little bit of a notch on the very top, and there's spikes covering the perimeter, or the edge I should say, of the spine. You can also see the spines protruding a little bit from the skin of the sail, which is a really nice touch. The texture on the sail is quite pebbly again, like the rest of the body, but with smaller scales. The belly has got the most interesting texture I think on the whole body. It's got some very crocodilian looking scoots and big large scales running all the way down across the stomach and onto the tail too. I think this is a neat detail. The leg again is quite basic looking, but it's got some nicely defined musculature. It's got the same pebbly texture on it. The feet again, they're not incredibly detailed. It has a few scoots, but they transition very quickly into the pebbly texture again. I remember seeing that the feet of the Spinosaurus in the film have webbing, but these don't. Interesting that they decided to put the webbing on the hands but not on the feet. Here's the scan code if you want. The toes from underneath, I must say, look quite fat. The tail is very nicely sculpted. I really like the detail on the tail. You can see a little bit of those spikes coming down from the spine and sort of end midway through the tail. You can still see a bit of the spines in the tail showing through the skin, which is nice. The pebbly texture gets smaller on the main part of the tail, and you can see the nice crocodile scoots underneath. This is some very, very nice detailing. So yeah, sculpt-wise, I really like this, especially the head. The head is just spot on to what we see in the film. Right, so let's move along and talk about the paint. Now the paint is quite basic. It's all pigmented with this base brown color. It's like a beige brown tan color. It presents a little bit of counter shading on the bottom jaw and on the neck, and the tiniest little bit on the chest. I must say though that the eye is painted yellow and it has a round pupil, when we know for a fact that the Spinosaurus in the trailer and in the movie has a slit pupil. But I guess it's nice to see that they actually decided to paint the pupil in with some black this time instead of using the background brown color. The mouth parts are pigmented with this pink color, and the teeth are just straight up white. Usually they like to use yellowy white, but they decided to use the same color as the counter shading, which is fine. I mean, teeth are white and it doesn't look odd at all. There is no paint on the claws whatsoever, which is a bit sad. It really would have benefited with some paint on the claws, and that's exactly what I did. As soon as I finished the review, I painted in the claws. I want to talk about how they approached the patterns on the sail and on the tail. I originally thought that those brown stripes were achieved by stenciling the yellow, and it's the same brown plastic that we'd see underneath. But instead they decided to paint that same brown color over the yellow. That means they spent extra money and extra effort on adding an extra paint application to put that brown on when they could have just achieved it by stenciling the yellow, which would have made a lot more sense, and it means that they could have cut down on extra paint, which means that they could have made things a little bit more cost effective. If they did that, it means that they could have potentially used that same budget that they ended up using on those stripes to paint in the claws, and I'd much rather they did that. It's a very, very odd design choice, which kind of affects the look of the paint on the tail especially. To cut down on costs, they decided to stop the striping midway through the tail, when if they stenciled the yellow instead, we could have had those stripes going down all the way down to the tip of the tail, and they could have cut costs on an extra paint application. I completely understand that they had to cut costs here and there, but I really would love to see this Spinosaurus with the counter shading going all the way down to the tail, and some painted claws, and some properly done stripes too. That would be really nice. I think once I get an airbrush, that'll be the first thing I'll do. Let's talk about articulation. It's all fairly basic. The jaws articulate independently, the top jaw and the bottom jaw both move. The neck can rotate around. You can't really tilt the head around though, but it's definitely got a satisfying amount of range of motion. You can have the dinosaurs look up and down and side to side. And then it's got basic limb articulation. The arms go backwards and forwards, and the legs go backwards and forwards too. They don't swivel in and out like some other Mattel figures. The tail has got some interesting articulation. It can bend side to side and up and down. But what I really appreciate is how they thought out the articulation for the spine on the tail. It sort of slides underneath the other sail part, and it looks like the spine is continuing from the back onto the tail seamlessly at any pose you choose. So overall, despite some things that can be improved, this Spinosaurus is my favorite one. For a number of reasons. It's got basic articulation, which I prefer personally, and I kind of like the size better too, and I'm just in love with this set as a whole. It just really scratches that itch for me. Humans and dinosaurs with accessories is just the way to go for me. They're brilliant. Really, really nice stuff by Mattel. I apologize if I sound tired. I am very tired. I've got a lot going on, and I'm kind of pushing really hard to get these videos out for you guys. But I really hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. It is free, as a lot of YouTubers say. It's true though, and it supports me a lot. So thank you so much again for watching, and stay safe.